Everyone kind of gives a little bit of a gasped look, not expecting the guard to have a crossbow.
That is odd. Especially for an elf, but that's stereotypical. That's stereotyping.
Well,
So,
any news, Doc? The bartender chimes up. The doctor says, "Well, I'm. It's really hard to tell. Everything looks about at the same time, frankly." But he says, Marion, can I get a little help over here looking at this poison residue? Maybe we can get something else out of that." The Magus joins the doctor as they continue to look back at the work. The butcher takes another swig of his drink and says, "Well, look, what if you can't pin everything down? Because the doc said he was strangled. Anybody could have done that."
well, if he was strangled, that would have had to happen while he was sitting there.
"Who's to say it didn't?" He finishes off the last of his drink. "Maybe it happened in the middle of all of our games in drunken stupor. We could have murdered someone right in front of each other's faces and never known it. It's like the perfect crime. No one would have believed you because you're drunk." Smithy gets uppity with the butcher. "Look, you better calm down. I don't like being called a murderer as well as the rest of anybody in here." "Whoa, whoa, whoa, no one's calling you a murderer," the bartender said. "Excuse me." Tensions start to run high as everyone starts to get in a little bit of an argument here, trying to calm each other down.
Bartender, do you have anything light to help everyone with their nerves?
Yes, sure. And the bartender starts fixing a few light drinks for everybody.
We don't need to be drunk. We still need to be able to think clearly, but obviously everyone's nerves are shot.
"Well, of course they are," the smithy, the dwarf chimes up. "A man was just murdered in front of us."
Maybe something a little stronger for the dwarf.
Trying to say I can't hold my ale?
No, I'm saying something light wouldn't have any effect on your nerves.
Oh, so you got a problem with my nerves now?
No. You're losing your grip here. That's what I'm saying. You need something stronger to help calm you down so we can all think.
I am calm. He gets right up in your face.
If this is calm, I don't want to see you while you're angry.
Oh, I bet you wouldn't. You wouldn't last a minute. He rustles up one of his sleeves. Just go ahead. Try it. He is nose to nose with you right now.
I want to see if I can roll and pick his pocket while he's in my face, while he's in his rage.
Go for it.
How about 12?
12. Alright. You happen to kind of dust around his belt, which happens to have quite a few little pockets, but the first thing you managed to try and snatch while he was all up in your face is a small little dagger that he did not turn over. Small little knife, shorter than all the other ones you've seen so far.
I want to use my other hand and just put my hand on his shoulder and it's like, I'm not looking for a fight, I'm looking to help find out who solves this as I slip the knife up my sleeve.
No, you're just the one trying to argue to blame somebody. And he rolls an 8 and tries to swing at you, which misses, and he does a good spin behind you.
Just sit down for a moment.
The guard gets uppity and goes over as if to restrain the dwarf. He catches eye with the guard and says, "It wouldn't be good, would it?" Kind of half slurred. The guard says, "No, it wouldn't. Have a seat, Simon." The dwarf has a seat at the bar, and the bartender slides a couple of drinks his way.
Do I notice anything special about the knife? If I can take a look without anyone else noticing that I grabbed it?
Well, roll a d20 for me.
How about 19?
19. You haven't noticed that this is a very small steel knife. It looks just about as long from blade to handle, about the length of your palm. It looks like a literal finger knife, or a weapon of stealth, if you will. Something that would not be used in battle, but to be used to, well, shank somebody, in secrecy for self-defense. The doctor chimes up. I think we figured it out. The Magistrate says, yes, this poison residue here shows up very easily under our swab conditions here. It would be easy to detect any sort of residue with the swab test. She hesitates. Would everybody be willing to take a swab test?
I step forward immediately.
The guard looks around and says, anybody else object? The dwarf shows a ill gesture to the guard and says, I'll do it, I guess. Everyone very hesitantly kind of gets in line. The Magistrate swabs you on your hand. She says it'll be most predominant on the hands. She swabs your hands. Everyone gets in line. She swabs everyone's hands. She says it'll take a few minutes for it to appear, but if any residue is there, the swab should turn green.
Since it'll take a few minutes, I suggest that we put the tests next to the nameplates.
Okay. And the innkeeper will help you begin to make labels as well up at the bar. The doctor says, I can honestly understand everyone's concern here, but regardless of who killed this man, or if this killer is in this very room, my concern is more on these neck wounds here. I think it speaks for itself. And if that thing is in here, then we are probably not looking at just one victim by the end of the night. Fears as on cue another lightning strike crashes with a loud boom of thunder.
I just look at the sky and go, really?
The adventurer is staring out the window now and is taking in notice. Yeah, there is no way we'd be able to make it out there through all this, as the winds are kicking up as well, he says. Wait, does anybody even have any knowledge of the undead in here? Other than me, obviously, he kind of self-quotes.
I'm gonna roll the check.
Alright, roll it.
5.
Alright, you do not have much knowledge to support other than the general knowledge of the undead. Nothing specific.
They're undead. They hate holy. That's all I got.
The Magicus speaks up, as well as Bartender. To which they all agree that if it is indeed a pyre or a vampire of some sorts, this creature would be into hiding if it were within one of us here. To which, of course, it sets everyone's nerves even higher. And they also make notice that they cannot stand the rain so much, and it would be very hard for them to blend in a crowd, especially since the morning, and though it is nighttime, it would be prime opportunity. But what do you think? But what do you think he has planned? Butcher says. Do you think he'd just try to pick us off one by one? Which a few people take very alarmed reactions to this. Look, I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying. The bartender says that if one of us is of the undead origins, that creature would try to hide in such a situation, because I'm sure we could overpower it if we have our heads together. Everyone is very uneasy now.
Yeah, I pipe up. Yeah, well, here's the thing. None of us have our heads together because there's a dead body right here.
Well, maybe that's what he wants. All of us to keep off our guards, and he can pick us off one by one without us even knowing. The dwarf says.
And if we turn on each other, all the more reason for him to be able to stay out of people's sights. Because we'll all be looking at each other, and we'll probably ignore him or her.
Oh, look, who are you up here pointing fingers at? The dwarf points at you. What makes you think you're the leader? Coming in here.
I ask the, Magicist, what are they openly weak to, pyres?
She says, of course, as normal lore goes, a good stake to the heart will kill them. They do not like any holy relics, as well as a natural enemy of sunlight. The garlic thing, that's a fairy tale, but they cannot cross into any archway of a door without being invited. To which that everyone kind of takes notice to, that this vampire would have to have been invited in.
Well, here's another issue. It's a bar. Everyone's welcome so long as you pay.
That's true, the innkeeper says, and I'm pretty sure we've invited everyone in here properly.
What about silver? Is that a thing?
No, silver's more for lycanthropes and such like that, Akron tells you. You're thinking holy items like crucifixes and just holy relics.
Does anybody here have anything of that nature?
Everyone pats themselves down. No one seems to have anything. The innkeeper says, "Oh, I may have a crucifix up in one of the rooms. I can go get."
I suggest you do, but take one person with you.
Well, who do you suggest? Are you listing here, or?
Take your pick. Because here's the thing. If you take one person with you, and they return without you, they killed you. Or vice versa.
She seems very startled by this blatant fact you just announced.
And then we'll know.
Says, Giles, she motions to the guard, you feel she probably tried to pick the safest person, at least in her mind. The guard escorts her up the flight of steps up to the inn above. The dwarf chimes up once more. Now look, I'm not trying to be any worse than anybody else in here, but all I'm saying is if you point fingers, 3 of them point right back to you, buddy. All I'm saying is you've taken a lot of initiative for this little search party. Are you trying to hide something yourself? Wagging
no,
his
not
finger
really.
at you.
I was actually just going to pass around the crucifix.
Ah, okay. I see. He's wagging his finger as hard as he can. He's pointing you out just for the heck of it. I think you're just getting upset because you don't like being told what to do. Or maybe you just don't like being accused. He is pointing and just frantically pointing. He is still in his drunken stupor.
I ask in a very calm voice. Now, I'm not starting anything when I ask this question. Do you like being accused?
The dwarf says, we're always being accused. Dwarves have a reputation that precedes themselves. Our duty is to hold ourselves higher. Isn't that right, you elf scum? He shouts over at the doctor. The doctor gives him a very disgruntled look and tries to go back to examining the body. He says, I just don't think you're getting on edge because I'm pointing at you. He's just pointing you down. Everyone's kind of just, looking at this argument between you and this dwarf. Because you don't even have the gall to point at anybody else. You're just making assumptions.
Well, like you said, if I point at someone, I've got 3 fingers pointing back at me.
Yeah, because you're too afraid to, he says, contradicting his words. Go ahead, point. Try it out. See if you can do it. You don't have the guts. Downs another light drink, which the bartender begins pouring him water.
Okay.
Go ahead. Point, I dare you.
I point at the ceiling.
To which everyone instantly gasps, looking at you in a little bit of shock.
I was able to point, but you didn't say where.
He did it! He did it! A few voices scream out as they glare at you. You stop pointing to notice that your hands are glowing green. Magus looks at you. Okay, everyone else show me your hands right now. The butcher is clean. The
I just stare
bartender
at my hand and go, that's new.
The bartender is green. The magicist is green. She says that's to be expected.
Mm-hmm.
Smithy is clean. The doctor is green.
Again, to be expected, he examined the body.
And the adventurer is clean.
Well, that just leaves the guard, who is upstairs, and the innkeeper, who is upstairs.
Look, you guys sort this out. I gotta take a leak, the butcher says as he wanders over to the bathroom. Okay. So this doesn't look too good. The bartender nervously looks at you and says, I don't have any. I don't even have an excuse, or I don't even have any clue. Because it seems, other than the magicist and the doctor, you and the bartender are the only green people at the moment.
I'm just as confused as you are.
The dwarf laughs his butt off. See, I told you! He's too afraid because it's him all along! The adventurer tells him to pipe down. Look, that doesn't prove anything. We've all touched the body. We could have gotten it on anybody.
I have a question for you. What was your name, dwarf? I'm sorry. Simon?
You call me whatever you want, he says.
Well, I'll call you by your name, as that is what you were given. I want to pull out the knife. The little knife that I picked off of him. Mind telling me why you didn't turn this one in?
He begins to flounder. Everyone. His attention is turned to you. He's trying to frame me, the dwarf says. He had a knife the whole time, and he didn't turn it in.
I wanted to let you know that I was patted down, and I was the first to turn in all of my knives. You were the one who got flustered and got straight up in my face, making it very easy for someone like me to take something as small as this off of your belt.
Akron gives a laugh. Ha! Knew it! It's a pickpocket, always a pickpocket.
I just... Welcome back, Akron. Welcome back to the world of the aware. Might I also point out that you were the one who also withheld your arrows.
Grumbles at you.
Several of us have been hiding things. And it's a sobering fact right now to know that, obviously, because we are hiding things, we're not telling the truth.
Bartender says, I agree. He is sweating. You feel he is on the spot because you two are the guilty party at the moment. He says, maybe we can go around and really take a look at this man and possibly tell us some truth. Surely one of us knows this man.
Before that, which I do agree, you have a very good point. I would like to ask you, Doctor, if this knife happens to match up with any wounds on his body.
The little knife?
The little knife.
You hand him the little knife. He gives it a once-over. The magicist does swab it for poison as well. He examines it with the knife wound and looks up and says, "It's not a match. No,
Fair enough.
Whatever stabbed him was a little bit larger than this."
We're talking about the stomach wound, correct?
Yes. Yes, indeed.
But now, we have a good point. Larger than a shanking knife. A hidden weapon. Which I must ask, why were you, of all noble individuals here, Sir Simon, would have something as indecent as an assassin's knife?
Oh, now he thinks he's got the gumption to try and point fingers, the dwarf says. Go ahead, search the half-elves, search all of them, even the magicists. Watch, they'll have something on them. Go ahead.
Gladly, because the more information we have, the more armed we can be.
To which point
I also put the knife in with the rest of the dwarf's belongings.
To which the butcher returns from the bathroom. So who is it? He says. Did we figure it out? Can I go to bed yet? Who's up to be hanged?
Aren't you eager to kill someone?
Look. Akron gets up in his face. Terrence, you need... Look, we all know Terrence has an issue with getting very, very... Well, he gets grumpy when he's drunk, and it doesn't get any better. He has anger issues as it is. Don't hold it against him. I'll tell you who's got anger issues, he says, pushing Akron out of the way. This dwarf over here. He's been biting everyone's bullet since he got in here. The dwarf just grumbles and takes another swig of water.
I want to inform Akron. I want to inform him of what has transpired so far. While he decided to head into the bathroom, we've decided to research everyone.
Let's see here. Keep track of my people. The bartender, as well as Akron, both Bart and look. We didn't agree to be searched again. Why are we searching again? To which Giles and Isabella both return from upstairs. She says, I found it, but it's not in good shape. It's a little old, but it should do the trick. She says, holding up a predominant little crucifix.
I ask the blacksmith if there's a way. I ask Simon if he would like to try and straighten this up for us.
Oh, you're breaking up.
He's good at metalworking.
Hang on, you're breaking up.
See if he can make it more of a crucifix, more cleaned up. Want to see if he can make the crucifix more prominent. Make it seem more like a crucifix, since she said it was a little damaged.
Look, why don't you get anybody else to do it? Why do I gotta do it? You stereotyping?
No, because you are the blacksmith, and as I've heard before, you do excellent work. If anyone in this establishment can do it, I'm certain it could be you with no effort whatsoever.
Oh, you were breaking up. You're okay now. Can you hear me? Test, test.
Test.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. He very uneagerly swipes the crucifix and takes a cloth from the bartender and polishes it up as best as he can. Still a little dingy and dull, but shinier than it was. The bartender says, okay, okay, Isabella, you can stand over here as well as Simon. So we now know that you two are not vampire. I suppose isn't that right? He gestures to everybody else.
Absolutely.
Isabella goes and stands by the side of the bar. The dwarf tosses you the crucifix. Goes over and sits at a table near Isabella.
I look at the crucifix real quick. Even drunk, your craftsmanship knows no bounds.
He gives you a grunt. Seems like he ignores you.
Alright, who's next? Anybody eager to just clear their name?
The doctor has actually been wandering around at this point, just looking about. Roll a d20 for me.
Alrighty. I've got 18.
Okay. You happen to remember that you were going to ask everyone to try and identify the body once more. You notice the doctor is wandering around with something in his hand. He seems to be patting in his palm very quizzically, like he's looking for something. He begins to look over the table and he goes, Can someone else dump out these arrows for me? I'd like to take a better look. The guard comes over and dumps the arrows out, other quivers on the tables. To which the doctor holds up the end of the broken arrow that was lodged within our victim. It is a shimmering little black charcoal-colored arrow, a black arrowhead. Akron's arrows are dumped out. They are stone. They are not evenly cut, but they are stone. The guard dumps out his own quivers, to which he has a different assortment. Not one arrow matches each other, but one of the arrows is snapped in half, and one of the arrows is snapped off at the end. One of the arrowheads is missing. He is taken aback by this. Well, he begins to flounder his words, looking up at everybody as everyone has now noticed that, that is a very predominant clue. He says, well, I would never keep my instruments in such disarray. I would attend to this at once, of course. I am a guard of Homestead here. You guys know I would never keep my tools in such a broken state. So it was the guard all along, the drunken dwarf says. He didn't touch the crucifix either. Everyone begins
I
to
chime in,
eye down the
but,
guard.
however, the guard's hand was not green, so he didn't have a hand in the poisoning.
The Majesty says, yes, but we're not trying to figure out who poisoned him. We're trying to figure out who killed him first. At which point the butcher says, "Oh, look, everybody look at the man again. If this is going to be turned out, it had to have a motive. Everyone line up and look at him again. And tell the truth," which the butcher roars over everybody in his angrily state, intimidating enough to make everyone nod in submissive agreement. You find out not everyone was being truthful. The innkeeper does not know the man by name, but has rented this man many a room, and he is very much in a debt to her. As well as the barkeep, this stranger has many a drink tabs he has unsettled. The Magicist points out the stolen potion, of course, and she admits that there were a few more he has stolen from my shop. The butcher himself, through his huffs, finally admits that the stranger sold him out to a band of thieves in his early years, and he hasn't been on best toes with this guy. The dwarf admittedly just says that he's stolen weapons from him, as the sword proves it. The doctor admits that he has had a grudge match with the stranger, since he was slandered by him in front of the Homestead Council and had put a bad reputation in the paper of him. Akron admits that he once tried a partnership with this stranger, to which he made off with a good bounty of the treasure that they were supposed to split evenly, and has not seen since. And the guard, as he says, it pains him to say this, has had a grudge against this man, as he has formed into the unlikely ranks of an opposing guild he was in, and basically opposing sides of the war. Now you notice they all have motives now, but they have also given you different names each time, so not one name matches, so you cannot confirm a single name here to the stranger. "And what about you?" the bartender says.
Honestly, I have still never seen him.
"You lie," the dwarf shouts out.
I've no reason to lie.
He grumbles over, noticing that you still have the crucifix. You still have poison on your hands. Says you're as much in this as the rest of us.
That I am, but may I also let you remind you that I went over to check on him at the beginning of this night. Granted, I was drunk, and I couldn't tell that he was dead.
Killer always comes back to the scene of the crime. The dwarf tries to brag in your face.
If you feel it was me, then that is your opinion. But I still believe that we need to get to the bottom of this. He has too many wounds for it to have just been one person.
Once more squabbling goes over, as well as no more continuation from the mad sister of the doctor. If any further conclusions on this corpse, to which you all unfortunately agree, you might as well retire for the night, as you are not getting anywhere, but the guard will stay post, as well as everyone will take turns on a shift rotation to watch over the body, as well as anyone who may come down from the inn. In the morning, We can try and settle this again with clearer heads.
I agree and throw in that we should also open the windows first thing in the morning. That shall smoke out the pyre, as not everyone has passed around the crucifix.
Then let's pass around the crucifix, the guard says. A good point. Isabella goes and stands back over next to the dwarf, as well as you make your way over towards the three of them with the crucifix in your hands.
Like it or not, here you go. As I hand it out to the first person.
Who's the first person? Who do you hand it to?
The bartender.
Bartender seems very feebly to take it, still taking in his shock of his green hands. He happens to grab it, but he instantly drops it. Notice he is furiously shaking. He apologizes and daintily picks it back up and hands it back to you.
Now, for everyone else, I want to point out, he did pick it back up. He dropped it out of nerves, not because it hurt him. He was still able to pick it back up.
The rest
Just
of
so...
the crew nod.
Next, the magicist.
Magicus easily comes over and grabs it out of your hand, waves it around as if to prove, nope, not me, and hands it back.
Thank you very much.
She gives a nod.
Now the butcher.
What, you think I'm a vampire? Really?
2 reasons of my suspicion. 1. While they were upstairs grabbing the crucifix, you decided to go to the restroom. Now,
So I had to go.
and I admit that. That is a possibility. However, you might have also been biding time until they